Right. Okay. So this is the agenda for the regular meeting. And I would like to, I forgot to about it, but I want to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory, which is the traditional lands of First Nations and Métis people. We have the minutes, then we've got news from space, budget spending motions, and we have some member presentations, Astro Imaging Corner, and announcements. Are there any corrections or changes to the agenda?
No, but I'm seeing a gray box right at the bottom of the screen. Is that just me or?
No, it's not just.
That's not just you.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
seeing it as well.
Gray box.
Yeah.
You have a window blocking your agenda there, Tom. The bottom right.
Might be a glitch in Zoom.
Yeah, because I'm
It
not
also
seeing.
could be a window on a second screen that is overlapping into the first screen.
Nope, that's not going to do it.
That's the pattern, and there was a similar bar across the top.
Weird. Okay. At any event, to be consistent, Sukrit, I'm going to exercise my prerogative to accept the agenda.
Sounds good.
All right. So first will be the minutes, Sukrit. Are you able to call them up?
Yeah. Should I pull them up or?
Well, you don't have to.
Nope. Okay. Then in that case, Alistair sent me an email letting me know that there was just, instead of saying minutes of February's meeting, it should have been November. I've made that correction. So now that I've made that correction, I want to make a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting for December 13th, 2021, as seen on the OneDrive, again, with the correction.
Do we have a seconder?
Alistair seconds.
Thank you, Alistair.
Oh, I beat you, Bob.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Carried. Okay, Jeff,
Okay, can you make me a co-host?
I can do that. There you go.
Okay, so hopefully this will go well. I did some testing, so what happened last Wednesday, in addition to being bombed and we had trouble with my PowerPoint. So this should work, I hope.
ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter, launched in 2016 as a joint mission between the European Space Agency and Russia's Roscosmos, detected water in Valles Marineris on Mars. This vast canyon system is 10 times longer, 5 times deeper, and 20 times wider than the Grand Canyon. The water is located beneath the surface of the canyon system and was detected by the orbiter's FRIEND instrument, or Fine Resolution Epithermal Neutron Detector. This instrument is able to map hydrogen in the top meter of Martian soil. The observations were collected by the orbiter between May 2018 and February 2021. And the findings published December 15th in the journal Icarus. FRIEND revealed an area of unusually large amounts of hydrogen in the colossal Valles Marineris Canyon system. Assuming the hydrogen we see is bound into water molecules. As much as 40% of the near-surface material in this region appears to be water, said the study. This is very much like Earth's permafrost regions, where water ice permanently persists under dry soil because of the constant low temperatures. This finding is an amazing first step, but we need more observations to know for sure what form of water we're dealing with, said one of the study's authors. Meanwhile, the rover Perseverance was doing some cloud watching as it carries out its exploration of Jezero Crater.
Our time is running out, Jose. Would you care to talk about your future plans?
Yes. My next plan is I plan to land on the sun.
Are you kidding? It'd be burned to a crisp.
Well, I'm going to land at night. I'll get out of there before sunrise because I know what's going on.
I'm sure you were kidding about that.
On December 14th, at a meeting of the American Geophysical Union, it was announced that for the first time in history, a spacecraft has touched the sun. NASA's Parker Solar Probe has flown through the sun's upper atmosphere, the corona, and sampled particles and the magnetic fields there. The corona is the outermost layer of the sun's atmosphere and is made up of plasma. It is not visible from Earth except during a total solar eclipse. Launched in 2018, the Parker Solar Probe has traveled closer to the sun than any spacecraft before. Using the gravity of Venus during 4 flybys, the probe's trajectory was adjusted to fly through the corona. The probe flew through the corona in April and again in August, during its 8th and 9th close approach to the sun. Scientists said it took a few months to get the data back and to study it. These images, taken while traversing the corona, show streams of plasma whizzing past the spacecraft, but also how diffuse the corona is, as planets and the Milky Way can be seen in the background. At closest approach to the sun, the probe was traveling 147 kilometers per second, with the front of the solar shield measuring temperatures approaching 1,370 degrees Celsius. The $1.6 billion mission aims to improve forecasts of major space weather events that impact life on Earth, as well as astronauts and satellites in space. As it circles closer to the solar surface in its continuing mission, Parker will no doubt be making new discoveries. Also at the meeting of the American Geophysical Union in December, Juno Principal Investigator Scott Fulton presented data and images from flybys of the Juno spacecraft orbiting Jupiter since July 2016. During a summer flyby, NASA's Juno mission captured the first close-up images of Jupiter's largest moon, Ganymede, in a generation. Ganymede is not only the largest moon orbiting Jupiter, it is the largest moon in our solar system, larger than the planet Mercury. Another presentation highlight was 50 seconds of sound created when Juno flew by Ganymede. The clip of the moon's audio was created by electrical and magnetic radio waves produced by the planet's magnetic field and picked up by the spacecraft's radio plasma wave experiment known as WAVES. At the time, Juno was about 1,038 kilometers from the moon's surface and traveling at 67,000 kilometers per hour. Juno will fly by Jupiter's moon Europa, which will be visited by its own mission, the Europa Clipper, set to launch in 2024. The Juno team continues to analyze the data from the spacecraft as it continues its mission. China's Yutu-2 rover has spotted a mystery object on the horizon while working its way across the Von Karman crater on the far side of the moon. Yutu spotted a cube-shaped object on the horizon to the north, roughly 80 meters away. The object has been referred to as a mystery hut. Team scientists have expressed a strong interest in the object, and the rover will begin traversing the lunar regolith and avoiding craters to get a closer look, so updates can be expected. Unlike earlier Soviet-era Lunokhod rovers, which were driven in almost real time, Yutu's location on the lunar far side means that instructions must be transmitted via relay satellite in high lunar orbit, and movements must be made slowly and incrementally, similar to the way rovers on Mars are driven. A likely explanation for the shape would be a large boulder, which has been excavated by an impact event. Other speculation as to what the object is has ranged from a Tim Hortons, a McDonald's, an old Texaco station, or a Borg cube. But it's probably just a rock.
I got a chocolate bar. I got a quarter. I got a rock.
Like a City of Edmonton transportation project, the James Webb Space Telescope was years late and over budget. But by the middle of December, it was finally on the launch pad. Its launch date was pushed back many times, but on Christmas morning, it rocketed into the heavens atop an Ariane 5 booster. The $10 billion space telescope will peer deeper into the universe than any previous instrument by means of its infrared images. James Webb Space Telescope is a joint project between NASA, the European Space Agency, and the Canadian Space Agency. The Ariane 5 performed flawlessly, and after shedding its 2 solid rocket boosters and first stage, the rocket sent the Webb off to its final destination, Lagrange Point 2, where it is expected to function for many years. As seen from its upper stage, the Webb separated from its booster, deployed its solar panel for power, and headed for Lagrange Point 2, 1.5 million kilometers away, a point where the Earth will be between the telescope and the Sun. On its 1-month voyage to that point, Webb must deploy antennas and, most importantly, unfurl its tennis court-sized sunshade. Failure to do so will doom the mission. A system of pulleys, cables, and supports must deploy in sequence. It's been described as a cosmic origami. Hopefully, all will go well and it won't end up like another certain terrestrial DIY product. After the sunshade is in place, the telescope's mirror will unfold and the instrument will be ready for commissioning. The hopes of thousands of people, those who have worked on Webb and those in the astronomical community, wait in anticipation for all going well.
Okay, that's it.
Well done.
Thank you.
Okay. So now we're going to get on to member presentations. Now it's 9:09 p.m. Alistair, how long is your presentation going to be?
I think I might be able to do it in under 15, maybe under 12.
Okay. And Orla, I think you're going to be about 10 minutes, right?
You're muted, Orla.
I timed it. It's 7 minutes and 15 seconds.
All right, and not a second more. Okay, over to you, Alistair. Do you need to be co-hosting? Or are you
Nope,
already?
I just need to hit share screen. There we go. I think. Oh, I have to. Oops, hang on. Just want a slideshow. There we go. Not share. Okay. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to give this presentation a little bit about comets. First, a very brief description of what a comet is to a newcomer. It's basically a loose, dirty, organic snowball. They're not dense at all, so pure ice would be more dense than what a comet is. Yeah, it's very loose things. And you can almost picture the one at right, Churyumov-Gerasimenko, as being two that have smooshed together and would break apart fairly easily. So maybe within our lifetimes, we'll see it break apart. Where do comets come from? They're all around the solar system. They were born out of the same cloud of dust and gas that the Earth and the planets were, but most of them have been catapulted out into this large Oort cloud well beyond the orbit of Neptune. The ones that are closer in the Kuiper belt, tend to be a little more coming in at shallower angles along the same line as our solar system. Comets put out tails of gas and dust. The gas moves straight out. Typically, it's thanks to some of the organic molecules that are part of a comet's crust. And when they get exposed to sunlight, they ionize, and then they can, and so with being charged particles, they get picked up by the sun's magnetic field, and out they go straight away from the sun. Whereas the dust, which is the main reason we see white particles coming off of the comets, those are heavier, and so as much as they flow away from the sun, they tend to trail along the path of the orbit. So that's a very quick thing as to what a comet is and where they come from. One can never be sure how a comet will behave. Like a snowball flying through the air at you, there's a lot you don't know. Its size, is it dense, compact, or is it very loose fluff ball? Does it have more ice or gravel in it than usual? Is it two older snowballs that have been smushed together and will split apart? And you can kind of see here that just about anything can happen to a comet. Will a comet be typical, awesome, or a washout? And astronomers can predict the typical, but we really don't know. And sometimes they just change what they do. The outbursts can be very regular, or they can be very rare. As our friend David Levy, a born and raised Montrealer, co-discoverer of the comet that smashed into Jupiter, famously says, comets are like cats. They both have tails and they do whatever they want. So moving on to the main topic, that's periodic comet 29, Schwarzmann-Wachmann. First imaged on photographs in 1927, and it's unique in that it has several outbursts nearly every year, despite orbiting beyond Jupiter's orbit. You think it needs to come close to the sun to break apart or get too much heating, but not this guy. It just seems to go into these outbursts all the time. So on rare occasions, it has reached magnitude 10. And this year is exactly one of those rare occasions. So I had been monitoring 29P with the Athabasca University Robotic Telescope, thanks to Martin Connors and Ian Schofield for giving the Edmonton RASC some observing time on this robotic scope. So I've been using it to contribute to the comet monitoring community, imaging the smaller, less popular targets, especially those beyond the reach of my own equipment. And so at one point I was shooting away, it was 15th magnitude down on the left side there, just a very dim splotch. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, it has really, really brightened. It's in outburst. And so at that point I realized, oh, it's now bright enough that my much, much, much smaller lens and equipment can capture it, even from the backyard. And so I started shooting it at the end of October into beginning of November. But I got busy and had to put that aside for the moment. And it was basically just before New Year's, I went back, did some image processing, and went, oh, look at what it did. That's really amazing. It really sort of blew its top. And so having seen images from observatories and even the Hubble telescope from Comet Holmes at Wright, when Comet Holmes went, it puffs out a big shell and has all sorts of interesting stuff going on in the center. So I thought, boy, do I ever have a really nice catch here. So I was just tickled pink with all this. But there was something a little weird in its position. But I knew that when comets break, they can drift apart. And then I realized, well, the motion is always, when these things break apart, it still follows in the main orbit. And this thing that I had imaged on the left was traveling way too fast and in the wrong direction. So I went back to the original image, and so here's the blob, and here's a nearby star, Iota Riga, and the real Comet 29P was sitting right where it was supposed to be. And so this thing was like, okay, that's not the comet. So then it's like, well, what could it be? And the next thing is, well, it's moving across the images, as you can see on the left. And so maybe it's a rocket booster separation. And we've actually seen one of these things visually from Edmonton way back in the late 80s. Very cool to watch through a scope. And I thought, oh, that's pretty likely. That's kind of what I got there. Now, having said that, they're super rare, and the experienced know the science expression, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And in part, that's also because the nuclear physicist Richard Feynman said, the easiest person to fool is yourself. And so what do you do with extraordinary evidence? You present it to your peers. And Denis Boucher looked at it and goes, could it be a lens reflection? And so it's like, don't think so, because it's moving and all that, but lens reflections happen due to the various coatings on the lenses, and because not 100% of the light gets transmitted through the lens, but echoes back and forth through the elements. And so a super bright crescent moon here at upper left is overexposed, but here's its reflection through all the system comes out. Even Venus here has its reflection in the middle of the darkness of the tree. So it's right, these reflections tend, not always, but mostly, to happen right across the center of the frame. So they're actually very easy to point out. So then I went back to my original image, popped an X in the middle of the frame where I could see it. There's a bright star, and there's my object. Okay, well, so that's why you have peer review and check. For way out things can be actually quite down to earth. So very kind of sobering. So lessoned, relearned, and relearned again. But still very interesting going on is how the comet actually evolved. And there's a fellow who submitted to the arith.net website. He had a wonderful string of good weather. And so about every 5 days apart, you can see, poof, there's the comet. It gets a lot brighter, starts putting out a puff ball around it. Faint puff ball, but gets brighter, and then, oh yeah, there it is, the puff ball. You can see it, as the puff ball expands, it gets a little bit more transparent, and you can see the core again. And eventually the expansion, these are all at the same scale. So that's really cool when you follow one particular observer and using the same equipment, because then it makes it really easy to compare. And eventually it just kind of settles back down, and the original puff just slowly dissipates out into space. So that's pretty cool, from essentially mid-September to into mid-December. One of our regular contributors here in the Astro List, Eric Clauses, he did a sketch of Comet Schwarzmann-Wachmann when after he heard that it had gone into outburst. And here, excuse me, is a comparison. I've rotated his image around to make sure that it all lines up. So when you compare his image to the one I took with the University of Athabasca robotic scope, if you can, well, this one on the right is a day earlier, but you can see this nice hockey stick figure on the left here, this reverse hockey stick figure on the upper right, this nice little triangle. So Eric has obviously got really nice skills in being able to pinpoint his stars and make a really nice drawing. And then I decided, well, I'll just collected the images that I took all together with the various bits of equipment, rescaled them so that they're all the proper size, and dumped them onto one image. And you can see here how against the background of Auriga that the comet slowly expanded out. So it's still expanding out there, and I'm looking forward to some clear skies to get another look at it, because who knows, if it popped once this round, it may very well be popping just as we speak. And for those of you, if you look at aerith.net, AERITH, I should put that on there, here are the current comets that are out there. Leonard, of course, is actually, it's still visible for those in the deeper south, which is why it's on the list here, but it's not available to us. But the good old Churyumov-Gerasimenko is available as a nice telescopic comet, so probably not that much from the city other than being really faint, but 4-inch scope out in the country will just pick it up. An 8-inch scope should show some structural detail on it. And then down to 13th mag, there's actually, as you can see, quite a few comets to go for. The interesting thing is that in terms of the Athabasca robotic telescope, what's available to me, I can quite regularly get down to 17th magnitude. So here are the comets that I can go chasing in January. It's a few. Now, probably a third to a half of them are in the far southern sky and not available, but that still leaves a good chunk of targets to go and follow along with 29P itself. And then finally, to wrap this up, to end on a note of optimism, being hopeful and looking very much forward to O3 Pan-STARRS at the very end of April sort of 29, 30, and into the first few days of May. It's here it is. So sun, the horizon, sun below the horizon, crescent moon, Mercury, the Pleiades, the comet, and a tail pointing straight up, and in the evening. It's sort of like, what more could you want? And you think, well, I'd like it to be like Comet Neowise was. And lo and behold, on paper, with the orbital elements, how close it is to the sun, it's just about the same as Comet Neowise is. So, is it going to be as good as Neowise? Well, I think you know from the earlier parts of this presentation, it could be way better than Neowise. And it could be just dissolves and whooshes into nothingness. So who knows? We'll find out in a few months. But the only way you can be sure is to go out every night and look at it. Because also as the comet Leonard, as it just passed by, just as it got out of our range of sight, it really went out in a good oomph. And so hopefully that'll happen with Comet Pan-STARRS this May. So with that, thanks for your attention, and have a good evening.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Alistair. Well done.
Thanks, Al.
Okay, so our next presenter is Orla, and Orla, I'll send it over to you, and let's see, make you a co-host. Yep, over to you, Orla.
Okay, I'll just turn on the sound and share. Whoops, I think I shared did I share the right thing?
So you guys Songs on Science.
Yeah, the Songs on Science. Yeah, so this is just going to run. I did the voiceover because my voice is a little hoarse, so I'll just start it up if I can figure out how to do that. At the November 8th meeting last year, Some of you might recall that I presented my music video, Pulsars. This was one of several songs on science that I've composed over the years. I started writing songs on science at some point in my physics career when it struck me that there were very few, if any, songs with real science content. With my songs on science, I've tried to rectify the situation. More recently, using images borrowed from the internet, I have been integrating these songs into more interesting music videos. Tonight, I'd like to present another of my songs on science video compilations, Contact. By way of a brief introduction to this video, there has been many films, documentaries, novels, and short stories written about humanity's first contact with extraterrestrials. The theme goes back to at least 1897, when H.G. Wells wrote The War of the Worlds. There is no doubt that the search for alien life is a popular science fiction theme, but it is also an ongoing scientific endeavor. Our search for exoplanets, our search for evidence of a second genesis as part of our solar system exploration. The message is directed to alien intelligences. Are we alone in the universe? This is the subject of my song, Contact. Now, I'm sure that all of you are familiar with the movie Contact, starring Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey, which was released in 1997. This movie was based on a novel written by Carl Sagan in 1985. I wrote the song Contact in 1994, 3 years before the release of the movie. Perhaps I had Carl Sagan's book in mind, but I don't recall ever reading his book. In 1994, I was teaching physics and astronomy at the College of New Caledonia in Prince George. At the time I was president of the Prince George Astronomical Society, I was involved with the construction of their new observatory on Tedford Road, and I was participating in their Pegasus outreach program. So perhaps these were motivating factors for the song. I sometimes imagine that had I been a popular singer-songwriter rather than an astrophysicist, my song Contact might have ended up in the movie.
There is an electromagnetic wave traveling through outer space. It has a modulated frequency set out by the human race. It has a wavelength which is suitable for radio. Just tune in its wave number and we will say hello. Hey, is anybody out there with a telescope who can tune into our frequency? Is there any hope with an amplitude that's fading and the redshift kicking in? Soon our message will be buried in the background cosmic din. Is there anybody out there at all with the technology to hear us call? Are we alone in this universe? If we're alone, well, there could be nothing worse. Are we alone? Are we alone? Are we alone? Are we alone? It forwarded a message in 1974. In 25,000 years it will get to your door. We're waiting for an answer. We'll wait for their request, but we don't know where to look for it. What frequency is best? In some corner of the spectrum where the noise is not so high, or at 20 centimeters. We'll wait for their reply. Is there anybody out there at all with the technology to hear us call. Are we alone in this universe? If we're alone, well, there could be nothing worse. Are we alone? Are we alone? Are we alone? Are we alone? The Voyager is traveling towards a distant star, carrying a message that tells of who we are. A history of our planet spun on a disc of gold, but will it be forgotten before its story's told? I thought I saw a spaceship flying through the air. I thought I saw a UFO landing over there. Ah, have they come to meet us, invite us to their home? Or was I only dreaming and we are all alone? Is there anybody out there at all with the technology to hear us call? Are we alone in this universe? If we're alone, well, there could be nothing worse. Are we alone? Are we alone? Are we alone? Are we alone?
Great job.
Thanks. Thanks.
Good stuff.
Any questions?
See, Murray's got his
Are we
hand
alone?
up.
Am I still sharing?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, we've got your medical.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I just realized that I didn't see anything. I couldn't find the screen.
Yeah. Now we're seeing.
Is that me?
Is that a cartoon? Yeah.
That's not me. I stopped sharing.
It's the aliens.
Oh, I don't know where that came from.
Well, this is Florence.
It's me by way of a question, comment. You know, there's different theories out there. And here's, you know,
I see.
You kept asking, are we there? Are we alone?
Oh yes, yes. That's
so here's again my favorite cartoonist from Times Colonist is answering your question.
Oh, I see. Uh-huh. All right.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Orla. That was really entertaining.
All right. Thank you very much. Glad you enjoyed it.
You put a lot of work into that too, I can tell.
Yeah, it's takes I'm sure Jeff can tell you how much time it takes to create a video. Thanks, Luca. I see you clapping. Yeah, so I mean, if it's enjoyable, I have a few more that I'm working on. So if it's of interest to the members,
you're always welcome. You're always welcome to present them.
Whenever you put out the call, I'll put my hand up and
Lovely.
I'll put together something else.
Excellent, much appreciated.
That was awesome.
Okay, so now we get to the fun part of the AGM, which is the awards. And the first award is on the agenda is the President's Award for service to the center. This year's President's Award for Service to the Center goes to an unsung hero. As you know, since it was formed in 1932, our club has been run entirely by volunteers. All of the governance, all of the programs, every touch of the pen or the keyboard, all done without thought of compensation or other reward. But even in the midst of all this selfless dedication, our awardees' contributions stand out. Stardust, our club newsletter, has been in publication almost continuously since 1954. It's as old as I am, 67 years. And it has been and remains an integral part of who we are as an organization. Yes, we have Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and the Astro List. And of course, these are very popular, but ultimately their nature is to be short and ephemeral, read quickly and then replaced by something else. On the other hand, issues of Stardust allow for more thoughtful explorations of topics and extended records of our activities, and they get cataloged and preserved, another task accomplished by our recipient. They remain as an enduring celebration of the center's existence. Since 1954, Stardust has had many editors, of course, and I thank them all for their past service. But most of the editors did it for 1 or 2 years. From what I can tell, the longest stretch was 7 years. Which brings us to this year's recipient. Michael Ward has been editing and producing Stardust since 2005. 16 straight years. Need I say more? This year's recipient of the President's Award for Service to the Center is Michael Ward. Let's give him a hand.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. This is totally unexpected. I suppose I'm allowed to say something, huh?
You are.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, thank you very much for whoever is responsible for doing this. And I continue to enjoy it. And it always takes me longer than necessary because I keep stopping to read things, of course. And I'm, as some of you know, I continue to work on the index, which is taking longer than I expected because, of course, I'm stopping to read articles all the time because there's a lot of interesting stuff there. And so, wow, I'm just a little stunned here. And when you told me I need to be at this meeting, I couldn't imagine why. I haven't done anything. So anyway, thank you one and all very much. And I appreciate this.
Well, well deserved, and I have your certificate. I guess I'll put it in the mail or somehow get it to you, but you'll definitely get it at some point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, that was fun. Now we go to the Observer of the Year award. So our recipient is a visual observer with a difference. She makes meticulous logbook entries, including sketching what she sees at the eyepiece. And she shares them with us on Facebook and on the Astro email group. She does this for a noble purpose, right in line with our mission. As she said on a Facebook post on the Center Facebook page exactly 1 year ago, quote, "I'm thinking that this year I'm going to start sharing my visual astronomy logbook entries to the site. I'm hoping to motivate people new to the visual astronomy hobby by sharing my experiences. This way, others can learn what is up in the sky, what one can see from the city, etc. I hope that other visual astronomers will start sharing their observing sessions too." And then she did. And I'm going to see if I can share some of her work. Can you see that? No, you can't. Just a sec. So can you see that?
Yes.
Yep.
So here's Comet Leonard. You can see her notes and her sketch. And let me see if I can get another one up. Right. Can we, everybody see that? Your sketch of the moon.
Yep.
And here are her notes and sketch of sun and sunspots. So keeping logbooks and sketching objects seen through a telescope has a long and honorable history, of course, going right back to Galileo. Indeed, if Galileo were to come back today and become a member of our center, which he sure undoubtedly would, he would be amazed by our astro imagers, and I'm sure he would sign up for one of our astro imaging cafes. But he'd want to go to dinner with the sketchers and sit right next to our award winner, Berta Beltran. So it's my honor to present the 2021 Observer of the Year Award to Berta Beltran.
Congratulations.
Yay.
Well done.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate this. It's extremely fun, and I certainly wish that this year I can continue sketching and sharing my sketches to other people. And I certainly have to thank this group for the motivation to actually go out and observe, because sometimes when it's cold and dark and you feel like you are happier at home, it is this group and the things that I hear from you guys on a daily emails that make me go out and observe. So thank you to all of you for being so active. Thank you.
Yay.
Good job, Buddha.
All right, so our next award is the Bryce Hartwell Memorial Award for Excellence in Astro Imaging. So we are lucky to have a sizable group of experienced and talented astro imagers in our midst. So picking the Astro Imager of the Year was in some ways a difficult decision for the award committee. On the other hand, as we started discussing the matter, it became apparent that this year there was a clear winner, even though our choice has never won the award before. He's never won the award, even though his work has earned 4 APODs. 4. Although, to the award committee's credit, we made our selection before the 4th one and all of the subsequent well-deserved media attention. You all know who I'm speaking about. This year's winner of the Bryce Hartwell Memorial Award for Excellence in Astro Imaging is the inimitable Luca Vanzella.
Woohoo! Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And now I'm going to see if I can share the screen. And
Well deserved, Luca.
Thanks, Bruce.
oh heck,
Turtles all the way down, Luca.
That's right. I made the 2 pinnacles of retweets, or CTV News had the story out. Oh, sorry.
here we go.
I'll let Tom go.
Yes, can we see that? Well, that was absolutely beautiful.
Thank you very much.
It sure was. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for all the compliments on the Astro list and all the other emails congratulating me. Warren, this is the kind of astro imaging I do because I still put my eye to the eyepiece under dark skies. I was going to mention that I received it. I ended up on the Twin Peaks of in terms of CTV News did a little item on it and it had a post that that it got tweeted on both sides of the Alberta political spectrum by Rachel Motley on the day of, and then by one Jason Kenney 7 days later.
Fantastic. Does this mean you're running for premier?
No.
Well, congratulations again. I'm going to turn over. The next award is the George Moore Memorial Award for Excellence in Public Education, and I'm going to turn it over to our VP, Jay Lavender, to make the presentation. So where are you, Jay?
I'm right here.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Here I am. Okay, thanks, Tom.
Shall I make you a co-host? Do you need it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm okay. If you can hear me, everybody can hear me okay?
Everybody's good. Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. Just want to say Happy New Year to everybody as well. So I am going to award the George Moore's Memorial Award for Excellence in Public Education. And I just wanted to note that, the importance of public education is that it's one of the key activities that our RASC Edmonton Centre does that actually qualifies us for casino funding. So aside from it being pretty fun to do, actually, it's also an important part of the program that the RASC Edmonton Centre delivers. So as everyone I'm sure is aware that this pandemic has made things extremely difficult for any organization to fulfill a public-oriented mandate. And of course, last year, the RASC was no different. But nonetheless, near the end of last year, the last quarter, I guess, of 2021, many organizations began contemplating and deliberating about the idea of restarting their public-oriented programs, their public-delivered programs. And no different to that was Tourism Jasper and the folks that actually put on the Jasper Dark Sky Festival. They too started contemplating about doing a Jasper Dark Sky Festival last year. And I have to say they contemplated and they deliberated and they contemplated some more and they deliberated some more. And they continued to deliberate and contemplate right up until a few days before the RASC would actually be due to put on their JDSF event. And finally, literally days before the event was due to commence, the RASC Edmonton Centre got the green light that the event was going to be a go, despite the ever-changing provincial health protocol restrictions and those types of things. So despite those challenges and many, many more challenges that would be just be fruitful for me to even try to describe everything that that these folks had to go through last year, the RASC Edmonton Centre's JDSF committee rose to the occasion. They managed to assemble a team, assemble an observing program, work their way through the accommodations and any extracurricular team logistics, and successfully delivered the RASC's Jasper Dark Sky Festival event. So it gives me great pleasure and admiration that this year's George Moore Memorial Award go to Marion and Alan Hobbs and to Monica and Chris Mirveld, herein known as the JDSF committee. So congratulations. And great
Thank you
job.
very much.
Amazing
Yes,
job.
We wouldn't have done it without your help.
Yes,
Well,
we
well,
appreciated you too.
Just support, but you guys really did a great job. So
I didn't realize we had worked that hard, Jay, but we appreciate the, but thank you very kindly. I think the thing that will be most memorable is our last picture where we decided to wear our masks rather than take them off, because I can just imagine a 5-year-old 20 years from now looking at the annals of our history and saying, why are they all wearing masks? And I think that was the big thing that we all had to cope with was COVID during this year's JDSF.
That's for sure.
Awesome.
Get that picture framed, Chris. Do you know anywhere we can do that?
I'll scout around.
Thank you very much. Congratulations to the 4 of you. And thanks, Jay, for doing that. It's an award that's well-deserved. And I hope it's so easy next year you don't have to win it. Our last annual award is the Franklin Lodi Award for Project of the Year. And Jay alluded to the fact that COVID was causing problems, and no one can deny that 2021 was a very tough year. In the spring of 2020, we had all marched into our homes confidently to battle COVID, like the British troops who had marched off to Europe at the beginning of World War I, home by Christmas. A year later, when we were still pinned down in our homes, our modern trenches suffering casualties every day with no end in sight. We needed some good news. And it was at that time, March of 2021, that our next award winner conceived of a project that would not only give us that news, it would do so in a lighthearted, entertaining way that would lift our spirits. He called it News from Space. Presented at each regular meeting, News from Space documents in a fast-paced, entertaining 10 to 15-minute series of seamlessly stitched together film clips, the triumphs and occasional foibles associated with humanity's adventures into the great beyond. And in a stroke of comic genius, these events are narrated by Walter Winchell, of all people. And it is comic genius because that voice, the voice of tabloid Hollywood sensationalism of yesteryear, not only captures and focuses our attention on what's worthy up there, it also serves to bring down to earth the pompous and self-important who would exploit it. Billionaires in space. So, we're lifting up our spirits so high every month, and it takes a lot of work to do so. The Franklin Lodi Award for Project of the Year goes to our past president, Jeff Robertson.
Woohoo! Congratulations.
Yay!
Well, thank you very much. I don't really think I deserve it, but well, thank you. And I couldn't have done it without, just hang on here. I couldn't have done it without the help of my friend Walter Winchell, who came from the grave to help narrate these somewhat confusing clips. And with that,
awesome.
that's all I've got to say.
That's awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
So that would ordinarily conclude the honors that we would bestow on recipients in 2021, but there's one more that I think deserves some special recognition. And I don't know if I can do this. Let's just see. Nope, don't have it. Darn. Okay, so the December 20th issue of the IAU, the International Astronomical Union Bulletin, pointed out that Bruce McCurdy was going to be the recipient of, it was going to be, an asteroid was going to be named after him. And it pointed out that he had received an honor from RASC National for service at the center in 2007, and that he was a keen observer. And I think that summed it up well. You know, Bruce joined the center, according to the records, in 1986, Bruce. It might have been earlier, but that's what they've got you at.
85.
85. He served on council for 21 years. You should get an award just for that. And he was given the President's Award for service to the center in 2009. He has served as the coordinator at the deck. He administers the Twitter feed. He's a regular contributor to the Observer's Handbook. He's called on regularly for media commentary. He attends meetings of all kinds of the center. He's really, in my view, the epitome of what a center member is and can be. So I just want to say congratulations, Bruce. I'm sure I speak for all of us in saying so. It's a great honor, and thank you for bringing honor to the center as well.
Woohoo, congrats.
Well deserved. Congratulations, Bruce. Wow.
Well deserved, Bruce.
Thank you very much. This was a huge surprise. Alistair and Valerie dropped by our house on the winter solstice, I think it was, and it was just going to be a friendly Christmas visit. And all of a sudden, Alistair had Peter Jedicke on the telephone, and there he was reading off this salutation. What's the correct word for it? Citation of the awarding of 10086 McCurdy, and I can't lie to you, I was tickled pink, and it's a different level. And I should say congratulations to all the award winners this year, very well deserved. It's been my honor to win a couple of these awards over the years, and that was sweet. And of course, the National Service Award, but this one recognized by the International Astronomical Union, and actually represented by a rock way out there in space. I'm telling people my new address is out in the main asteroid belt somewhere between Mars and Jupiter. So if I'm a little slow getting back to you, that's probably got something to do with it. But bringing it back to home, I mean, the thanks really go to those who submitted this nomination. I'm extremely honored and in your debt and in gratitude for that having taken place and for you to going to all of that trouble. I looked at the long list, like it sounds like an exclusive club, asteroids, but it's fairly inclusive. There's close to 23,000 named asteroids at this point. And of course, we're discovering way more asteroids all the time. So clearly the standards of having an asteroid named after you are going down. And we've achieved a new level on that. But I was very excited to find out that I was in fact the first of my name to be so honored. I even beat my great uncle, the famous aviator John Alexander Douglas McCurdy, who flew the Silver Dart in 1909. And his less famous father, Arthur William McCurdy, the inventor, who actually was a co-founder of the Victoria Center of the RASC, I recently found out, in 1914, and who was among the movers and shakers that got the Dominion Astrophysical Observatory off the ground. So it's nice to have their names up there in the main asteroid belt now as well, and I'm happy to represent the McCurdy family and have us all so named. Just one other note that going through the list of asteroids, it's pretty fun to see some of the other people that are named out there. And Peter Jedicke's done a great job compiling a list of the 545 asteroids with some kind of Canadian connection, either Canadian citizens like myself or people that have been recognized by the RASC, like my orbital oddities mentor and guru, Jean Mias, to share that honor, that class of honor with him is spectacular. And people that I've worked with and my friends, and who have been similarly honored in the past. I'll just name a few of you. 4143 Huziak, 22421 James Edgar, who, by the way, sent me this plaque today of the asteroid showing the position of all of the planets and the asteroid on my birthday, 1955. So that's kind of cool to hang on the wall. Also, 78431 Kemble, after Lucien Kemble. And locally, previous members of Edmonton RASC who have asteroids, who I know personally, there may be a couple more, 13700 Connors, 15819 Alistair Ling, my #1 observing buddy over all these years. Thank you, Alistair. 65657 Hube, 78434 Dyer, 85121 Lodi, and 215886 Barry Arnold, the late Barry Arnold. And what an honor it is to join you in this, what I'm now considering an inclusive club. And it's what an absolute thrill. So thank you to, well, those people in particular, but to all of you for your part in this.
Well done.
Thank you.
And
And I
just
couldn't help but
an
notice-
added note, the orbit and a few of the details are available in this month's Stardust. So
Perfect.
have a look.
And Bruce, I don't think the standards are slipping. I looked at the bulletin and I see that right after you, an asteroid was named after Johnny Cash. So
The Man in Black, is that cool or what?
awesome. Okay, so now we're going to move to the shortest segment of the evening, which is Astro Imaging Corner, I'm sure. Given what we've experienced over the last month or two, my goodness. Anyway, Abdur, over to you.
Thank you very much, Tom. It certainly will be a shorter segment than usual this time, but some of our brave volunteers were out there still trying to get some pictures. So I was surprised we actually got some entries. Just gonna share my screen here. There we go. Okay. Everyone see that?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So let's make that full screen. Yeah, welcome to Astro Imaging Corner number 116. So for anyone who might be joining us for the first time, Astro Imaging Corner is the part of the show where we share images sent in by Edmonton RASC members. And if you would like yours to be featured here as well, you can send it to Astro Imaging Corner at edmontonrasc.com. You can also find the link for that on our website at the bottom left corner. Our first image of the night was from Alan Hobbs. This is the Bubble Nebula and some of its friends around there. You can see the Bubble Nebula right in the center here. It's the large bubble. Up to the top left of that, you can see Messier 52, large open cluster. And right over here, I believe that looks like it might, oh no, right down here. Yeah, one of these ones is actually the Nova Cas. This really bright knot down here, this is NGC 7654 or 7638. I'm ashamed to say I'm not really sure which one it is. And that's the Lobster Claw Nebula at the bottom right over here. So quite a few objects in one picture here. Great job, Alan. And this is actually a close-up of the same, of the Bubble Nebula. And the subs were all 30 seconds. Sorry, it was a total of 30 subs, and each of them were 1 minute long. So this was a total of half an hour of exposures on the Celestron RASA 8 and the ASI 2600 MC Pro camera. And Alan was using an opt-long L-enhance filter, and he was running it all on a Skywatcher EQ6R Pro mount. Our next shot is from Ray. This is the Cave Nebula, and this was shot with a full-frame QHY 367 camera. And the scope was the William Optics 132 millimeter refractor with a 0.72 reducer. So the focal length for this was 665 millimeters. And Ray took a total of 9 subs of 5 minutes each and stacked them all in Deep Sky Stacker and then processed them in Lightroom. And our next shot is from Ray as well. This one is from the summer at Ape Lake, and this was shot with a Sony A7R2 camera with a wide-angle 24 millimeter 1.4 Sony Zeiss lens. And this was actually just a 10-second exposure, so very nice. Our next shot is from Alistair Ling, and this is from December 19. This is Alistair says the moon sets behind Edmonton as the sun rises behind us and reflecting off the skyscraper back to us. So just like bicycle corner reflectors. So nice shot. Next one is also from Alistair. This is actually the Queen Elizabeth Planetarium. And this was taken from the north side of Coronation Park on the evening of December 6th. And this is a high dynamic range combination of 2 sets of a quad of rapid fire exposures. So you can see the moon. I assume that's the planet Venus up top there. You can see the Queen Elizabeth Planetarium lit up at the bottom. So beautiful shot. And this next one is actually, these next 2 images are from Rick and Susan Bram. And these are sun dogs you can see around the sun. And they took these while driving to Calgary, not to fret, they were the passengers in this case. And these were taken on the afternoon of December 27, 2021. And this particular image was taken by Susan Bram on her phone. And this next one, which is a close-up of the sundog there, this was taken by Rick Bram on his cell phone. And you can actually see a plane as well right over there. Just notice that. Nice capture. And our next shot, this one is from Warren Finlay. This is, gotta go back here. So this one, Warren says that this is a photo that's appropriate for the cold snap that we've been having. And Warren said that he based the snow sculpture on Francois Pompon's 1923 sculpture of a bear. And it was minus 33 degrees Celsius when Warren took this picture on New Year's Eve from his backyard. And the clouds are lit by Edmonton's light pollution. And the gray bear, Ursa Major, can be seen in the sky just above the snow bear right there. So absolutely beautiful shot and beautiful composition. Great job there, Warren. And our next image, this is one of mine that I took, I think it might have been about 2 weeks ago or so. So this was, I intentionally incorporated a lot of hydrogen alpha data in here to get more detail in the Bubble Nebula. And at the same time, right down here, you can see this very red looking star. This is Nova Cass, so the nova currently visible in Cassiopeia. And it shines very, very brightly in the hydrogen alpha part of the spectrum compared to all the other stars over here. I mean, all the other stars receive the same amount of H alpha data. This was just a straight combination, so no other color editing or anything like that. But it just shows how much brighter the nova shines in hydrogen alpha light compared to everything else in this image, except for maybe the Bubble Nebula and a couple of those tiny little globules of H alpha. So this was taken with the C11 at f2 using Hyperstar in my ASI 1600 camera. And I took maybe about 10 minutes of data in RGB and 25 minutes of data in hydrogen alpha. And this was taken during a 3/4 moon. And our last image of the night, this is one of mine from, I think it was either yesterday or the day, oh no, it was the day before yesterday actually. And this is the inferior conjunction of Venus. So the planet Venus currently is between us and the sun, but since it's a little bit above the sun, we don't get an eclipse. So this was a single shot taken with a Canon T2i and a C8 at f10. And I only had the time to take one shot before Venus went below the deck there, so I couldn't see it anymore. But next time I'm hoping to actually take a video and stack the frames to get a sharper shot, like some of the other people in the club had previously done, and that would give much better results. But this was a good test. My first attempt at imaging Venus so close to the sun, and in this case it was just a little below 5 degrees away from the sun at that time, and it looked absolutely massive. I definitely recommend that everyone go out there. Well, if you're experienced with looking at Venus close to the sun, you should give it a shot. Even in small 10 by 42 binoculars, the crescent of Venus was unmistakable. It was pretty large, so that's interesting, but you have to be very, very careful to not look at the sun. So that's all we have for tonight. So a huge thank you to everyone who sent in some images. So until next time,
Awesome.
Back to you, Tom.
Thank you. Those were great images. I'm so impressed. Everybody is so intrepid, a lot more than me.
Nice
all right,
job,
so
everyone.
yeah, fantastic. So we're going to move to announcements, and Luca, you have an announcement about the upcoming casino.
I do, and I have a 2-minute video to show as the presentation. So if you could let me share the screen.
I shall do that. Go ahead.
Okay. If we can see the PowerPoint window?
We can.
Okay. Yeah, so all those money motions that we passed, of course, a lot of them come from the casino account, which does need to be replenished. And so in 2022, we have an upcoming casino, and I thought I'd just wanted to do a little presentation on it to let everybody know what casino funds do for the center and how you can get involved. And it's a little bit of an optimistic look forward that 2022 will let us get back to doing many things. So here it is. A second here, I have to, all right. And that's it. So our casino's coming up on May 27th, 28th. And if you'd like to volunteer, just send an email to fundraising@edmontonrsc.com.
Groovy.
If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
Well, I see we still have 44 participants. You need 42 volunteers, so we've got 2 extra, which is really amazing.
Okay, well, actually, we do need a couple of backups too, so.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Deal. Are there any other announcements?
Oh, I have a question for Alistair. Do we have an update for the calendars? Because we haven't received that one yet, or as yet.
I saw in the RASC weekly news that it's just a little more patience. They should be coming to you this week.
Okay. Okay. Thank
It looks
you.
like they finally got their shipping issue resolved. So hopefully.
We got ours just after Christmas. So.
Okay, so they're on their way. They haven't been lost. Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Well, listen, I want to congratulate the award winners again, and I also want to thank my fellow award committee members for their wise choices. That would be Sharon Morsink and Jeff Robertson. And congratulations again to Bruce on that lifetime honor, well deserved. And thank you all. I think we had a pretty successful couple of meetings, and clear skies, everyone, and we'll see you in a month.